Ooh boy, this is a bad one. I watched this twice before I made this review, and I'm pretty sure I need to get some form of counseling now. I decided to watch this just on a whim because I love terrible thrillers, but this movie was just wow. Okay, so plot. Basically, two brothers pursue their hobby at the behest of their overbearing mother. Unfortunately, their hobby includes kidnapping young women, brutalizing them, and forcing them to marry them. This movie has some really dark themes and graphic depictions of sexual violence and abuse, but it's all handled so. I hesitate to use the word hilariously in this context, so let's say ham fistedly. It makes you uncomfortable, but not in the way the filmmakers intended. This movie has some of the worst acting I have ever seen, and I've watched Tommy Wiseau's sitcom.
Last night? You didn't get kicked out of school, did you?
Thanks a lot.
Well, did you?
No,
Then why are you here?
because I miss my little sister so much.
Dad, something happened?
Dad's fine. He'll be home Friday.
Yes, Princess Philippi is coming.
The sound editing is also weird. Dialogue will be badly dubbed back in certain places.
Ethan? Oh my god, Ethan, what happened?
I don't get the feeling that this movie was intentionally bad, but I'm having a hard time thinking of how anyone could screw up this badly either. So I don't know if I'm giving too much credit or not enough credit. You can watch it for free on Tubi right now, but I'm not sure you'll want to. I don't think there's a single scene in this movie where they did more than one take. There are multiple scenes where a character will start saying a line too early, so the line they're supposed to be responding to will interrupt the line they're currently saying, which means the actor has to start the line again once the other actor actually gets to say the line they're supposed to be responding to.
Sweet ride. 66?
You know your cars?
You guys know you can do these scenes over, right? Right? You know you can do it again, right? It's not cheating! Did anyone watch this movie before putting it out? The editing is actually halfway decent, so I assume someone did. Oh man, if I had any reason to believe they did more than one take per scene, I would feel really bad for the guy who had to go through and pick the best takes to use at the end of each day, because even the best scenes in this film are so bad they make my teeth hurt.
Smells like pancakes.
Everything about this movie is a disaster, from the acting, to the writing, to the effects, so let's tackle these in a random order as I think of things. Effects! Let's start there. Usually I prefer practical over computer-generated effects, especially with lower-budget films, but good lord, these are bad. There's a scene I probably shouldn't show here because it's kinda graphic, but I'm going to anyway. Okay, this girl gets stabbed in the chest, and the blood flows down from the stabber's hands, while she very clearly squeezes a blood bag in her hands rather than flowing from the knife itself. Did no one see this? Did no one notice this? Now here's the thing, you can make this effect work if you don't have a knife with a blood reservoir. Just put the blood bag in the hand away from the camera. It's that easy. Just turn around! This isn't even the worst example, it's just the only one I can show on a family-friendly website. My favorite is when the mom character hits this woman in the back of the head with a hammer, and it's just like this little tink tap, and then blood squirts up and hits her in the face, but it's almost a solid second after the hammer makes contact. On my second watch through, I noticed so much more that I can't even fit them all in this review. It's just a comedy of errors. As someone who enjoyed the Evil Dead films, it almost feels ironic to complain about the blood and gore effects in this movie, but the difference is that Evil Dead didn't take itself too seriously, and they embraced their budgetary restraints and created some really awesome ways to work around them. And most importantly, you could tell they were having fun. In a movie like this, if your actors aren't having fun, neither will the audience. And in this movie, I almost felt like no one involved was having any fun. Okay, except this guy. This guy, he's having a good time.
I don't know. That might be kind of cool to see.
But everyone else feels like they were all kidnapped off the street and forced to be in a movie. And given the conceit of the plot, they probably were.
You are going to be
In this movie.
now. How many fingers and toes you want to do it with? Well, that is up to you. Now, do I make myself perfectly clear?
But I'm getting distracted. I actually crunched some numbers on how much money was spent on the various props and blood and gore effects, etc. And after doing all that, I realized the whole thing could just be summed up with this. Now, I respect the hustle. I actually really appreciate that they put a movie together on almost no budget and actually created something and released it. Not many people do that. I respect that, but that doesn't mean it's good. And that definitely doesn't mean it's worth it. Okay, what's next? The acting. Oh boy. Oh, this is gonna hurt. No one in this movie can act. Well, okay, this woman's pretty good, but she doesn't really have any lines other than crying or screaming in pain. Which, to be fair, was all I could manage by about the 20-minute mark of this movie. But she's the only character I actually felt for. She had enough acting chops to make me feel something other than a cringe so hard I thought I'd develop TMJ. Which is more than I could say for the other actors. A lot more. There's a beautiful scene where the one girl who's kind of our main character throws hot coffee on the evil mom lady, and the dialogue leading up to it is just... Well, it's this.
How long do I have you to myself?
Well, at least a few hours. I don't expect them to lunch, or maybe even after that.
Oh, oops.
Dear, did you spill coffee on yourself?
No. On you.
This whole movie is like watching a room full of kittens stumble over each other, and you just have this sense of, oh, at least they tried. Except I'm not really convinced they were trying, either. Side note, because I'm only just thinking about it now, do you think this guy's Hulk tattoo was edited in post to make it look less like a Hulk tattoo to avoid getting sued? Or do you think the actor actually had a tattoo of Dollar Store Hulk? Or do you think it's a fake tattoo added for just the movie? Just curious. This movie tackles violence in much the same way as it does everything else, which is to say, entirely incompetently. There's a scene where this person is getting beaten and there's all this blood everywhere and you're supposed to take it seriously, but then they show the guy hitting them and it's these dainty little open-handed slaps, and the juxtaposition is so jarring that I actually laughed reflexively. There's multiple places where someone is getting stabbed or hit or shot, and the impact sounds, blood splatter, and action itself are somehow all out of sync with each other. They also never learned how to angle dead actors in frame so that you can't see their obvious breathing. It's just, oh my god, is it a disaster. Last point, the writing. Man, oh man, the writing. This movie really wanted to shock and terrify with its heavy subject matter and gratuitous violence, but it's all handled in the worst possible way. I just can't take anything seriously. I can't even tell if it wants to be taken seriously. The characters will crack jokes, but they're not played as if they're jokes. They're played as if the character is taking it seriously, but in an eye-rolly kind of way.
Sorry, dear. I'd never forgive myself if I let your cookies burn. Kids these days, no matter what you do, it's the wrong thing.
And when things are being serious, they're so dramatic and clunkily written that I can't help but laugh at it. Usually, even with movies like this, you can tell if you're supposed to take it at face value or if the movie itself is in on the joke, so to speak. And maybe I'm just too dumb to figure it out, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to feel. The worst part is, this movie could have been good if it was made by someone with any idea what they were doing. Let's take a look at some of the brilliant writing on display in this film. So, the cop character gets this guy who he doesn't know whether or not he's friends with the other villains of the movie to take him to the house where these people are being held against their will, right? Now, the cop at this point isn't sure whether or not he can trust this guy, but he says, I'm going to go check it out.
And check it out.
At which point, the other guy takes out a gun and tells him to get out of the car.
Get out of the car.
That's what he was doing. He just told you he was going to get out of the car. If you had just waited 5 seconds, he would have done what you were going to ask him to do anyway, and you wouldn't have had to pull the gun. I'm serious. No one watched this movie before they put it out. If you have no budget and you're going to be campy, I mean, lean on the camp. Make it funny on purpose. Have fun with it. If you have no budget and you want to be serious, don't try to reach beyond your capabilities. Use them to your advantage and get creative. Point is, you gotta pick one. I can't even recommend this movie unless you're someone who enjoys looking at train wrecks, because that's what this movie is.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
There are so many movies that manage to tell great stories or are just fun to watch without much money having to be put into them. And according to IMDb, this one had $450,000 to play with. Which I know for movies isn't much, but where did it go? It certainly wasn't spent on the cameras, or the sound equipment, or the writing, or the props and effects, or the editing, or directing, or... well, maybe they had to pay the actors exorbitant amounts since the odds are good none of them will ever work again?
Well, that's not fair.
Or maybe the town it was filmed in kept trying to get them to leave and they had to keep bribing officials to let them stay? On the one hand, I feel like I'm being too mean. Especially because I have this feeling of, well, at least they made something. But then so did the guy who created the Blood Eagle. I mean, just because it's creative doesn't mean it's pleasant.
That's comforting.
No, you know what? I changed my mind. I do recommend this movie. If you're someone who's always wanted to make a movie but feels like you just don't have what it takes, watch this movie. They didn't have what it took, and they made a movie, so what's stopping you? Go ahead, go do it. It'll be fun. That's all I've got for now. I gotta go take a nap.
There's a beautiful scene where the one girl... Screw it. I'm leaving that in.